It ends this way for everyone sooner or later, right? Some of us just get there faster than others. But we don't quit.
What's up, everyone, and welcome back to another Sci'D Geeks podcast.
What up?
And I'm geeked tonight because, you know, the J-Mo is back in action.
Dynamic duo in full effect, baby.
That's right. How you doing, man?
Healing. Everything's getting better. Yeah. Dude, I had the worst. I got one of the. If you know how people get waterboarded for secrets, I figured out how I would reveal everyone's secret, and nothing is safe with me. Just give me a toothache. Give me like something where I could use a root canal. The pain that you get, and the fever, and the ear aches, and the infections. I'd be like, okay, here's where my mom lives. Here's where my brother lives. This is where my dad hides money. What do you need to know? What do you need to know? I'm giving away secrets.
Damn.
I'm giving away secrets. Fuck that shit.
I wish I would have had this information last week. I would have gotten something out of it.
I'm telling you, it's the worst.
What do you really think about The Last of Us, J-Mo?
Man.
Woo!
Episode number 7.
So yeah.
Here's the thing about 7.
Yeah, break it down to me.
The best way I can describe it is it literally follows 85% of what we would see in the video game, but it's a little different. Now, it's not from the actual story that first came out. What it is, it's like after the game came out, I want to say 6 months later, maybe a year later, they started dropping DLCs where you could do like little side missions that were attached to the story. And pretty much almost the entirety of this whole episode is that DLC.
Gotcha. That's interesting because personal anecdotes. I played the game a while back. I think when it came out, I started replaying this game.
Me too.
Me too. And I think I just got to the hospital, and in whatever Salt Lake City, whatever it is, but we just got to the hospital, Colorado. That's right. And so we just did the whole David thing or whatever. And when I say we, is just me and Joel and Ellie. And you know, which was to David, and we'll talk about it later. But I'm like, where's the fucking Ellie scene? Like, I remember this, and it just dawned on me after doing some of the research that it was a DLC content, like a completely separate thing, and apparently there's even a comic book about it. But the reason I was familiar with is back in 2020 when The Last of Us Part 2 came out, I did a quick little recap of Part 1 in my Spanish channel, and then I included that Ellie and Riley scene, not knowing that it was a completely separate game. So thank you for that, because I was like, what? Like, I've seen this before, but I have never played it. So now good job, marketing department, because now I'm gonna have to go buy Part 2 and this DLC.
How are you playing it? On PC, Xbox? I mean, not Xbox, PlayStation?
I dug out my old remastered copy from PS4 and plopped it in PS5, and that's how I've been playing it. And I also, this is not a sponsored thing, but I also got the Backbone controller.
Yeah.
So I paired it up with my PS5, and I have been jumping into some of the action through my phone, which is like...
All right. What? So... one thing you should look at, if you've got the remastered copy, you might have the DLC already.
Really? Wouldn't it be? Oh, you know what? Maybe it's in one of the menus, right?
It's right there. Once you hit, once you get the opening scene with the window, you hit start. Instead of hitting continue to start playing your game, go down.
Oh, interesting. I'll have to check it out. Because the information that I received from PlayStation and Google was that if you have an old PS4 game and you plug it in or you insert it in a PS5, a lot of the times they'll offer either a free upgrade or an upgrade for like a minimal amount. And I was like, oh, there is a PS5 version that is like $70 or whatever. So maybe they'll do the remaster. But I think that version hasn't released yet. I think it releases in March, if I'm not mistaken. The PS5 version, the 4K, you know, all that good stuff. But
I wonder if they're gonna do what they did with Spider-Man. You know, when they remastered Spider-Man, they used Tom Holland's face. So I'm wondering if it's going to be a Pedro Pascal, Bella Ramsey type of redo.
That would be nuts, man. It would be awesome. It would be awesome, actually. And then one of the things that I know that they for sure updated was the Mortal Kombat posters and things like in the new game. So I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have to play it again, which I'm not mad about. Anyway,
you know what was funny before we jump into the episode is the fact that I wanted to try to replay the games up to where the episode ends. Yeah, that didn't last. I just got carried away. I'm like, fuck it, I'm playing.
It's funny you mentioned it. Yeah, young Rigo kind of said the same thing. Like he didn't want to play it because he didn't want to spoil himself. But then afterwards, he's like, okay, let me get into it, and I'll just play it up to the part. Yeah. But it's a little tricky, right? Because, you know, I'm like, hey, man, you have to play it till he gets injured, you know, like that's episode 6, you know, but once you're in there, like, man, time just flies, and then you're just going through missions. And anyway, I don't know where he's at. I'll tell you, I just got to the hospital and I was scared. But before the podcast, you kind of had a little bit of news or a little bit of, you know, thoughts or you know, spill it out, man.
My post thoughts on this episode is I didn't think it was going to be the whole episode of this DLC. Like the scenes of Ellie and Riley and their friendship. I should have known better seeing what they did with Bill and Frank and how they enriched their story. I didn't need to see the whole recap of the DLC. I wanted them to just get to the mall. Like she comes in, get to the point of being at the mall, show her around, get us all nostalgic of how malls used to be. Even though everything in that mall is supposed to be 2003, it looked like 1984.
Yeah.
It looked like Stranger Things' mall, a little updated, because E-Spirit, I'm sorry, that hasn't been around since the late 80s. Maybe early, that first one of the stores they showed, I was like, I don't think they used to be big with like swatches and E-Spirit shoes. And it was just like these cheerleader shoes, kind of like Keds back in the day.
We'll have to go do some digging around because we don't know if maybe on that part of the country, maybe they were available. I don't know, but that's a good point, man, because now that you mention it, it was a little Stranger Thingy.
And think about it. Arcades in 2003 were not around. They were dying.
Yeah.
I mean, 2003, we're playing PlayStation 3 or 4.
I mean, really? I do. It does resemble. I mean, I guess we now have the big GameWorks or the Dave and Buster's and things like that. But maybe at the mall, it did feel familiar. You know,
even the games that they showed, I saw a Frogger. And they showed the old racing games, Cruising USA.
Right.
I mean,
those were back in the 90s. That's our 90s, like early 90s. Yeah. Interesting. Good point, man. Good observation. I will let you know my thoughts. I mean, I like the episode. I mean, I feel like they're doing great. It was a treat for me because I didn't play the DLC content, right? So to me, for some reason in my head, this was part of the original game, and you know, I enjoyed it. It's interesting how it ended. I have questions, right? I knew we were gonna get this flashback, but it was interesting how it ended. We'll talk about it at the end because I do have some questions, and hopefully you can answer them.
Okay.
But we start off, and first of all, a lot of the people that haven't played the game were a little scared as to how last episode 6 ended, with Joel like not being unresponsive, and they're like, and of course people that have any type of connection to the internet will probably know that at some point Joel dies, and I don't know if they will change the story or not, but I think a lot of people were afraid, like, oh, is this it? So right away we start off episode 7 with a shot of Joel awake, so people can breathe, right, and feel like, okay, he didn't die.
The amount of people that chimed in that were my friends that chimed in after episode 6, like, are you fucking serious? This is bullshit. I go, yeah, man. I mean, it is what it is. That's why I kept telling them.
It's good. Nice.
Yeah. It's not too bad. It's not too bad.
But it right away, man. This show is it's crazy, and maybe I'm thinking it's even more awesome now that I'm playing the game, because the game is like also like you're on your on the edge of your seat the whole time, because you're fighting infected, you're fighting zombies and people, hunters, and all this stuff, which we don't have a lot of this action in the show. Like we've had it. But these other shows, like, man, they hit you different. To me, they're hitting me and at an emotional level with the love stories, and man, I think it's great. But we start off with an emotional scene. Joel basically telling Ellie, "Get the fuck out."
Right. He's like, "Go back to Tommy's."
Yeah, go back north. Go find Tommy, and you could tell that he's like he gave up. Like he's like, "Go save yourself. I'm gonna die." And Ellie's reaction is like, no, I'm going to stay with you or whatever. And he grabs her and kind of pushes her away. And it's like, oh, dude, like I get the point. And she gets up. And as soon as she is about to leave that basement, we go into the flashback. So walk her through the flashback, man. How do we start it?
I mean, you look at it, it opens up calisthenics, almost like a normal high school calisthenics. Mm-hmm. But it's not a normal high school. It's pretty much Fedra training. Both Ellie and Riley at some point were in Fedra training, looking to be officers. You can pretty much from the get-go, as soon as what was her name? I forget. I didn't catch the girl's name that knocked the Walkman headphones clear off of her.
Like Brittany or something, like something like that. Brittany,
bitch. Brittany, bitch.
I'm gonna see if I can look it up while you talk, because I can't multitask. So
you had the girl knock it off. You could tell there's tension in the air. Somebody's been bullied. It looks like Ellie's been bullied, even though we know Ellie as a rambunctious badass who's quick to the trigger. Mm-hmm. And you realize how close her and Riley are, because the girl that knocked off the headphones pretty much said to her, "You don't have her here to fight your battles anymore because you don't fight." And that just sets off a different type of Ellie. We cut to the scene of the what I would consider the principal's office, but it's actually her officer's office, maybe a sergeant of some sort, of whoever trains these girls. Mm-hmm. You find out that, yes, she's got a black eye from the girl, but the other girl's got 15 stitches. So that her good luck charm blade came out at some point.
Yes, and it's interesting because the perception is that Riley is the badass, right? And here comes Ellie, like doing some damage, like she can handle her own. And we'll see it down the line too. But I wanted to I couldn't find the name, but it was like Brittany or something like that, a B name.
We'll go Bethany. Hey, Bethany.
Bethany. So something interesting, and I might be just rambling here, but just an observation that, Ellie is not our in the show, our typical main protagonist type girl, which is like normally a white girl. that's blue-eyed, blonde, very pretty. Like the thing that we've seen since TV was created, since film was created. And it's like the pretty girl. And I'm not saying that
The
Bella
Buffy,
Ramsey is, yeah.
Kind of like the Buffy Vampire Slayer.
Yeah, the clueless, Alicia Silverstones, all that. So you get my drift, and it was interesting. And I'm not saying that Bella Ramsey is ugly. I'm just saying that is a different feel, right? They chose the character differently. Although Pedro Pascal is handsome as fuck. But anyway, so it's interesting that the roles are a little reversed, right? That usually you have the nice, pretty white girl being the main protagonist, and here comes like the not so pretty one, being a bully or whatever. And I just feel like they switched it around. Again, I don't know if that was on purpose. I want to believe so. And I liked it. I liked it. I think we deserve more change. It's our time for us ugly people to
be the main guys.
Come out there and be, so follow the Sci'D podcast. Anyway, so I just wanted to throw that out there because I just felt like, I feel like we're entering this new era of good acting instead of just pretty acting, if that makes sense.
It makes sense. It makes sense. I mean, with this episode, the biggest part about it is I liked who they picked to play Ellie because obviously we've known her from Game of Thrones, so we know she's of British descent. Mm-hmm. But if I'd never seen her before and I saw this first, the way she interprets our accent is spot on.
Absolutely.
Like the mannerisms, what words we emphasize, especially the swear words, her grittiness. Loved how she plays it. And you see it off the bat. You see where this, I guess, inner feistiness comes from. It's something she's had all her life. And I think we're going to get more depth into it with the next episode. I think because we get introduced to, and I guess almost like her origin story. Yeah. Because I think rumor has it we're going to meet her mother in a flashback scene.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, that would be pretty interesting because and those are back to some of the questions that I have because they kind of like leave it open, so that's good. From there, we jump into the office, right? Like almost like the principal's office, but it's not the principal; it's like Officer Kwong.
You know what he said that made me laugh is the fact when he goes, how he gave her the choices.
Yeah.
I don't know why it reminded me of that commercial, but like, this is your brain on drugs. Any questions? And I was just like, okay, I get it now.
Did you notice a nice Easter egg there with the keys? I'm gonna try to put it on the screen.
I didn't pay attention.
When he gives her the option, right? He kind of puts option 1 as a cup, and then option 2, and he throws some keys. The keychain on the keys or the keychain has a Naughty Dog logo on it.
And that's sick.
I'm putting it on the screen right now, so you can't see it, but the viewers can for a little bit. But I thought that was pretty cool, man. I was peeping that, and it's pretty awesome to be catching that stuff. But it's a refreshing scene because so far up until this point, they have made us look Fedra as assholes, right? As these people that are complete, dictators, and they hang people and they mistreat, especially in the KC, right? The way they describe them. But Officer Kwong seems to be a pretty nice guy. Like, instead of putting Ellie in the hole for a 4th time, he actually provides some advice and is kind of telling her like how you would tell a kid or a teacher would tell a kid, right? Like, hey, like, go to school, hit the books, and so you can be somebody, right? And it's almost translates into you could be an officer, but instead you could be responding to Bethany for the rest of your life. So what are the choices, right? So I thought that was pretty interesting. Not sure if you caught that.
I think what's nice about how they're portraying, I mean, this is our first real look at Fedra, an officer of Fedra. Yes, we got a glimpse of certain officers that were almost like grunts in episode 1, where they're just doing labor work, or they're doing patrolling, like just the bottom dwellers of Fedra. This is the first time we actually got to see maybe a little higher ranked officer and how his views are, and kind of like to what we would think or would mirror what the higher ups of Fedra would look at things. And what was nice about this officer is the fact that he could have been a dick. He could have been like your regular platoon leader, give me 20 and go fuck yourself type of attitude.
Yeah.
But he pretty much talks to Ellie like she's an adult. You know, mind you, here, you got to remember she's 13 years old. He talks to her like she's an adult. He's like, look, there's no point in punishing you. Here's the truth of everything. He goes, you could either take this route, which is the cup, and go do shit duty, literally shit duty. I'll make you in charge of sewer details, as we find out later Riley was going to become. You know, so he's like, yeah, I can make you in charge of sewer details. You got to watch people who throw and pick up shit the whole time.
Exactly.
Or here are the keys, and you could be Brittany or Bethany's pretty much superior and tell her what the fuck to do and get even with her. So I love that part. And I mean, he gave her an honest choice. You can tell he wasn't bullshitting.
Right.
So I like that.
Yeah, he was pretty straightforward. And I think one of the things too, as you mentioned, right, like some of the federal agents, I mean, yeah, sometimes they made them seem like complete savages, but even if that's their role, like, you can find good people everywhere, right? Somebody that's willing to give you some good advice. And shout out to Officer Kwong. Well, and he, for some reason, was giving it to Ellie, right? Because obviously, like you said, Riley wasn't so lucky, right? But
I think the biggest factor in that was more of Riley's age, and after all this time, she's not trying to improve her life. She's 17 years old, on the last year of her, I guess, residency in this school or this platoon. So it's time to get your papers out. Right. And I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't have the same conversation with her, and she just said, you know what, go fuck yourself.
Right. It's a possibility. That's a very good point too. So next scene, Ellie's going to bed. We have some B-roll of like a couple of things, right? Of course, the comic books, Savage Starlight, no pun intended, Volume 1.
Yes.
And the nice Mortal Kombat 2 poster that, comes into play later on too. But
and the cassettes that were played, or the cassettes that we saw.
Yeah.
You saw actually a song that was playing right away with the Pearl Jam song, which is All or Nothing, or No All or None. Yeah, All or None. That's on there. Aha's Take on Me, which is pretty much the whole aspect of The Last of Us Volume 2 or whatever, Part 2.
Right.
I mean, that's the song that I think Joel helps teach her. It's one of the songs, I should say.
Interesting.
And it's the one that you hear her play throughout Part 2 in the video game.
Yeah.
So a nice little Easter egg with the cassettes there.
Yeah, I think there was also like a poster of the moon and its faces, right? Which kind of talk about the last episode she talked about being an astronaut and talked about space. So I think that there could be a link there. And there was also a picture, I think, of a dinosaur or something like that. And I think there's a piece about that.
Not just the pictures, there's books about dinosaurs and paleontology. Everything that in regards to the dinosaur aspect is, again, a call out to what we're going to see maybe next season or the third season, because Ellie's a huge, obviously, she's got high hopes to be an astronaut one day, like her idol that she mentioned in episode 4, I believe it was. But also in Last of Us Part 2 in the video games, you realize how important dinosaurs play in her life too.
Exactly. So I thought that was pretty cool. But then she gets woken up, and not in a very pretty way. I probably would have died. Especially like living on pins and needles when there's infected around. In the game, I actually noticed that it was even rougher because Riley, instead of putting her hand over her mouth, she actually tries to go bite her neck as a joke.
Yeah.
And then
Someone's getting stabbed. Somebody's getting stabbed.
I know, man. It's crazy because Riley's supposed to be this badass, right? Even when like Bethany was like, "Hey, Riley, whatever," she's not here to protect you or whatever. She's supposed to be this badass, but Ellie, man, Riley's on top of her and right away kicks her off, like, and Riley falls. So I'm like, oh, fucking Ellie, what a badass she is, And then Riley makes a proposal to go and spend the night together, or just follow me. You're gonna say no, but please say yes. Just get dressed and follow me. And then we get to, after walking through the streets of the KC and some of the roofs, we get to the mall, right, where they land.
Well, before we get to the mall,
That's right.
We get a dead body,
Yes. How can I forget?
I think you and me both agree that we thought something big was going to happen here. Almost like a jump scene where this damn guy was going to switch into being a runner and try to charge at them. Honestly, that's the whole time I was thinking about. But then, like, looking into it, he had the fancy bottle of whiskey and the pills that he got from Joel. Because he was the only one smuggling those same pills to everyone. So those were Joel's pills. Whoever he gets them from, I think we found out who he got them from. Wasn't it?
He was one of the federal officers, the one that he killed with his fists.
Right,
yeah.
That's right. And so that was an interesting little kind of like, oh, isn't that a coincidence type of moment?
Yeah, and man, like the whole time, and of course we know Ellie's 14 and Riley's 17. Ironically, those are like the ages of my kids, and like all I keep thinking is, man, like all the bad choices, right? And like all the exposure to danger just because they don't know better, right? Like even going out at that time, Fedra's patrolling the streets. They catch you, they're gonna hang you. And then going as far as going to the mall, and then the whole episode is like that, where you're like, oh my god, approaching a dead guy, right? Like, dude, don't you know that the fucking apocalypse is going on and these people turn into infected people that can murder you?
Like, first move I would do is I'd kick him. Make sure either way, he's either going to wake up angry or he's going to be like, oh, on you. Yeah. So either way, he's going to get stabbed afterwards. That's all I know.
Yeah. Or pull a quick Walking Dead and just stab him in the head, just real quick, just for saves. What's that other zombie movie with, what's his name from, it's not Matt Sarah, the guy that plays Lex Luthor and Woody Harrelson.
Oh,
Zombieland. There you go. And he has his rules, right? And it's
double tap,
baby, double tap. But another quick Easter egg right there is I don't know if you noticed that Ellie was shaking her flashlight. And
that was like awesome.
A quick thing that it's funny because like I'm playing the game and into the game I'm realizing like, what is this for? I didn't realize it was to charge the flashlight, so I thought that was pretty cool. But they find some booze and they start partying, and there was some good whiskey too, by the looks of it.
Yeah.
Which it's also a pretty cool thing because like I don't know if you paid attention to the sounds or whatever. It's almost like the sounds of when they grab a bottle, in the game, and it kind of represents you're looking for alcohol and
like
water.
When you're grabbing your Molotov in the video game, it makes a very similar sound.
That's right. So very cool.
On the point that you made, that these girls are walking through the streets of death row, pretty much, acting like there's no such thing as a zombie or an infected, I should say. When they get into the mall, even if my best friend or brother or God himself goes, "Hey, I checked it out, it's clear," I'm like, "Yeah, let's check it again."
Right.
Let's check it one more time.
Yeah, and at first you're thinking like, oh my god, like what is happening? But it was all for the big surprise, right? That she wanted, and it's crazy. He's like, yeah, walk in through those doors, make a right, walk through those other doors and just wait there. I'll be like, fuck that. If I go in there, you're coming with me.
And honestly, like that was a cool scene. Like just to sit there in pitch dark black, all these lights, these fluorescent lights from every color come about. Because like, you know, they live in right now, this world that they live in is very dismal, very dreary. What I would compare it to grunge, Seattle grunge outfits.
Yeah.
Everyone's in a Seattle grunge outfit. But then all of a sudden you get to all these like fluorescent Miami colors coming at you, and you're just like, holy shit, this is fucking badass. I'm definitely gonna have fun tonight.
Yeah, and it was another one of those scenes when the lights are turning on that Ellie's just like mesmerized, almost when she was looking at the horizon with Joel. That I think on episode 1, at the end of episode 1, because he's just like, wow, like things that she has never seen before, right in front of her eyes. And a quick mention there that something that I learned today is that my respects to like the visual effects people that are making these, because all that it was not a mall, it was not a set, it was all visual. It was a blue screen in front of her, right? Which is a good call, because, and you know, as a video editor, and I'm not saying that I'm like super into special effects or anything like that, but when you watch a movie or a show, you're always looking for these things, right? Like, oh, fake. I just don't call it out because it's annoying, right? But I know, but this looked pretty real, man. Like they looked like they built a set and it was all a green screen. Which is
here's what I don't get. Like, I mean, there are plenty of malls that have been shut down that you could use. Hence, what Stranger Things did. They use an actual mall that was shut down. Which is cheaper?
Right.
I think go use the same mall in Stranger Things. Just do different camera angles. I don't understand why everything needs to be CGI or blue screened, or even that Disney screen that they use where it looks like you're in the scene, but you're not really in the scene.
Yeah, so, I think the showrunners were explaining that it was kind of like a timing / they couldn't find one. They said that they've actually found a mall that they were about to demolish, but it was like a really small, which is where the escalator scene happens in. But it's like the escalator, they got it to function, but there's a wall, right? When you go down the stairs. So it's like we took that, but they couldn't do anything else with it, you know? And but, you know, I figured if they said, hey, make it on the computer, man, that looked pretty real. You know, it's pretty difficult to do that stuff.
I mean, I know Golf Mill and Des Plaines ain't got nobody in it, and that place is hurting. So you could have videotaped there on a Sunday night at 7:00 p.m. and you would have had all free reign.
Spring Hill Mall, Jesus. Well, it's probably very similar because that one you can even get shot at. So the 4 wonders of the world, right? She's about to get right, and then she's 5 when she gets so happy with the escalators, right? Dawn of the Wolf. There's a poster on there that is from the game.
The movie that Joe loves, or something like that.
Yeah, so I thought that was cool.
You know what I found really, I guess, explaining to our mindset in today's world? Like, let's say something like this actually happens today.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that she goes, wait, so people ransacked the mall, grabbed shoes, but didn't grab soap?
Right.
And, you know, I love that because, you know, people are grabbing Jordans like crazy.
Yeah.
You know, for sure.
It puts it in perspective.
Even though if you wore Jordans in an apocalypse type of atmosphere, your feet are fucked.
Yeah. Yeah. It's insane because that's the mentality. That's how brainwashed we are, man. I mean, and even in the next scene where they look at the Victoria's Secret underwear, right? Like, think about that, right?
It looks uncomfortable, like she said.
Yeah, not only that, but it's like magazines, ads, commercials, everything puts, you know, sex on display, and, you know, especially women, right? Like they want to be that girl on the cover of that magazine, or now Instagram or whatever, right? These girls haven't been exposed to that at all, right? And it's just like mind bending now that you're talking about the shoes, because that's exactly what people will do, because we're so brainwashed as to like, damn, I need these Jordans, which have no value.
I need my new Air Maxes 97s.
Exactly.
Something.
You need to go to the Skechers store because you're gonna bring me, doing that curve.
No, you need boots, something hardy, something strong. If you want some like Timberlands, all right, cool. Go get some Timberlands. You're gonna need those. Don't worry about spraying them, waterproofing them, and all that shit. The suede's going away. So fuck the suede.
I'm going for comfort, man. I'm gonna get me a pair of Crocs. They have the 4x4. So screw the.
I'm getting steel toe. Fuck that shit. In case somebody tries to bite my toes, your toes are fucked. My toes are you're gonna break some teeth off my toes.
Nice. Damn.
In case I got to kick somebody in the head.
Some steel toe. Well, I like that.
Wait, you know what's funny is the fact. You know what I wanted to see, kind of like similar to the game. So she pointed out they grab shoes but not soap. I wanted her to go over there and grab some soap.
Right.
Just throw some in her bag. Like everywhere they went, just grab a little something, throw it in the bag. Something that is useful or something that picks up morale, something. Just grab and act like, it's the video game. You're just loading up. And grab some soap. I'm going to grab these extra pairs of shoes. I'm going to grab something. New clothes because mine have been god awful and nobody's washed them in God knows how long.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good call out, man, cuz she talks about it but she doesn't grab anything. And we know that that's something that you definitely need. These people look like they haven't taken a shower in a while. But speaking of the Victoria's Secret spot, right? I think that's the first attempt from Riley to kind of throw a hint, right? Because she says, "I'm trying to imagine the wearing that," right? Talking about the underwear, which kind of embarrasses Ellie a little bit, but also. It's crazy because right away she starts looking in the reflection, right? And she starts kind of like combing her hair or whatever. But it's interesting, man, because one is they're teenagers, right? And I think we've probably all been through that. And that's exactly what I was thinking, like, of why they're not grabbing soap, because you're not thinking about anything else but the other person, right? And dude, my son didn't want to take his lunch today because it was too embarrassed to bring our lunch back in. I'm like, so I think maybe that's why Ellie's not grabbing soap, because she's like, I need to keep it cool in front of Riley. But anyway,
you know what I did like? I like the fact that when Riley starts walking away, Ellie takes another look at the Victoria's Secret window. I think she was focusing more on the poster of the girl. She's like, okay, so that's what's pretty. I need to do some. That's why she started playing with her hair.
Gotcha.
I don't think she was. I don't think she was fixing her.
Yeah.
Right. It was like it was probably, I don't know, Gloria Schiffer or something, Cindy Crawford or something.
Oh man, 2003. That would have been Giselle, no? Or no? Or
Giselle. Bring everyone. I don't mind. I'm not going to kick anyone out of bed. Don't worry about it.
Tyra Banks was it? Anyway.
Tyra 7 foreheads Banks.
Anyway, so we jump to number 2, Wonder of the World, Carousel, right? That was a pretty cool scene, even though they're kind of flirting and drinking, right? And all I'm thinking is like, man, like they're losing the inability of like being sober right now. They're getting so smashed. I mean, they were down for like a half a bottle and a little bit. I'm like, man, I could feel the burn.
I mean, Ellie at 13 weighing what, 100 pounds?
Right.
110, let's say. 4 sips should have got her tipsy.
Right.
Like a solid tip. You're like, holy shit, I'm buzzing off something. And I just don't get they're just so lazy about checking their atmosphere, like checking around them. I don't know what Fedra's been teaching them, but it ain't shit.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting how long they hung out there, drinking that whiskey, because I would have been out. And I'm not 100 pounds, as you could tell. But they're having a really good time. They're on the carousel. They're on top of the horses. You know, every time there's a carousel in any like type of show or movie, it's like something good, unless it's it. But they're having a good time, flirting, laughing, and then it kind of breaks down. And as it breaks down, Ellie gets serious as well, right? And kind of has a heart to heart. You know, it starts having these heart to hearts with Riley. And just to clarify, right at this point, we know that she has joined the Fireflies, and we know that the two have completely separate paths, right? Two different groups that don't like each other. And this is where I believe Riley confesses, yeah, like you're trying to give me that Kwong speech, right? But he already put me in sewer detail, right? And this is where we find out that, man, like,
I mean, it's the same scene you find out where, you know, Riley's been pretty much sleeping at the mall, creating pipe bombs.
Living at Macho Taco.
Yeah, living at Macho Taco, creating pipe bombs as well. And it's kind of like they start having a slight little falling out before the big falling out. You know, they're just back and forth in each other's face. And Riley is just like, you know what? I don't need to hear it. I don't need to hear shit from you, because everything that you think you're okay with Captain Kwong, he's told me, and he's told me the opposite. He didn't give me a choice. He said, you got the cup. That's your job.
Yes, and I didn't get that. I didn't get the back and forth till the end, right? Where Riley tells her that she has to leave, right? But I was like, man, like, what's wrong with you, Ellie? Why are you mad? And we find out that she's mad because, of course, Riley just dumped her, like left her. They're best friends, and she just disappears for 3 weeks. She thinks she's dead, and all of a sudden she's back in the picture. But Ellie had no idea that she was gonna leave permanently, right? At this point, they're just kind of back to, because at some point she even says, like, let's go, I'll go back tomorrow, right? Thinking that this was gonna be their thing, maybe, right? But I was like, why are you being so pissy? And it's because of that. She keeps remembering, man, like, she betrayed me, she left me, right? Well,
I mean, think of Ellie's history. Everyone is either left her, died, but she's always been, I mean, she remembers being alone. Anytime she gets close to someone, something happens. I mean, you kind of heard that speech from her when she was telling Joel before we got to this episode, and so you kind of can see that because even when Brittany, Bethany, whatever her name is bullying her, she tells her, you got nobody. That the girl that used to protect you, she's not here anymore. You're on your own now. And you kind of get a feel for it, and you see why she snaps so hard. So, like, I mean, you got this situation now. She thinks her best friend's been dead. She comes back, so she's like invigorated all over again, just to find out she's leaving her again. So she's like, you know what? Fuck this bullshit. Go fuck yourself.
Right. Yeah, because even before she knew that she was gonna come back, like, she's staring at her empty bed, right? Like, Ellie's thinking about Riley the whole time, like this whole time. I mean, obviously they're best friends, but we know that she's in love with her, right? So she's thinking about her the whole time. From there, they kind of look at Wonder number 3, which is the photo booth, and they go do a photo booth action. And Easter egg here, I think they changed it a little bit, because in the game, for what I saw, it was something to do with, like, it actually had a Facebook reference within the photo booth. And if I understood this correctly, for people that have played the game, maybe you can confirm, is that you could even, like, post those pictures off the game onto your Facebook account if
It was the share option on PS5 or PS4.
PS4.
Too.
Interesting, because you
Both
can
of
look
them.
your Facebook, but yeah, kind of weird posting pictures of two, like, video game teenagers, right? But they had to change that, of course, because in 2003, because they changed the timeline, there is no Facebook.
Right. I mean, it's pretty. The accuracy of the photo booth scene is spot on. Even making it seem like the only good picture is their scary picture. Same right out of the game.
Right.
And like it's nice because like right after that is when we get the big falling out. You know, they find out about the pipes, the pipe bombs. Ellie storms off. In the middle of storming off, I didn't understand. In the middle of storming off, stopping and going, let me go back, and that's when Ellie pleads with Riley. Let's go back. She finds Riley in the costume shop, the Halloween store, and she gives her the wolf mask. She wears a clown mask. Ellie pretty much pleads with Riley, like, don't leave, just stay with me. And Riley agrees, and then they get their big kiss.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome, and also very accurate to the game, right? Like that whole dancing scene and the whole kiss. Like that interaction was like word for word, and it was nice. It was super well done. What comes up next, right, is kind of like what the defining moment of the show. And I think we skipped the arcade, but it's okay.
Yes.
We can come back to it. We can come back to it because this is
totally forgot.
Yeah, this is cool.
Let's go. Let's just jump into the arcade because like right after the photo booth scene is, that's when they go to the arcade.
Yeah, I think that's when they go to the arcade. And
yeah.
I mean, I like to talk about this scene because of Mortal Kombat 2, of course. I mean, we talked a little bit about like the whole feel, right? But
I think the emphasis of money on the floor, like it's nothing, like it was pretty much like candy wrappers on the floor.
Right.
What was the symbolism of that is fucking amazing because throughout all these QZs, money ain't shit unless you got those little green cards or yellow cards or blue cards, whatever cards they do, you can exchange with, kind of like you're trading Pokemon cards.
Exactly.
Is what is currency these days.
Yeah, man, money on the floor, and they just keep spilling it like nothing, right? But that's what they need to kind of play this game. They go to the arcade game, and dude, like, I really like this scene because that Mortal Kombat 2 was my game, and that's back to your earlier point about the timelines, right? Yeah, I was playing this in like back in like 93, 94 in the arcades, right. And and I remember, man, like going to this mall that was close to my school in like the fancier area or whatever, and spending.
Which mall is this? Name the mall.
You won't know it because it's in Guatemala.
There's no such thing then. Now you're just making up stories.
It's next to the burro and the palm trees or whatever. But
sure.
Man, they had this Mortal Kombat, and then we find out with my buddies that if you went downtown, kind of like to the poorer area, they had these massive arcades that were only like a quarter, right? And the other ones were like $1, right? And we were like, man, like, let's take the trip. Hell yeah. And that's what resonated to me because, like, dude, we went into, criminal infested areas, bro, that we were just like, hey, let's go play. We could have been kidnapped, murdered, whatever, but we were there playing Mortal Kombat because that's what the thing was. And then here we find out from Ellie that this is where she gets all the moves. She has seen Melina, which we didn't know, right? In episode 2 or 3, no, actually epised 3, where she's describing
who uses Melina? Who used Melina?
Melina's
nobody.
Shit. Melina's a shit.
Nobody. You never used her. You used her when you were like playing with people that you could be with anybody, and you're like, you know what? I'll just pick Melina. Pick Raiden. I'll still beat you. That's what you did. Dude. Melina was never used. If you're competing with somebody on Mortal Kombat 1 or 2, Melina was never used unless you guys played random. Just close your eyes, pick someone. All right, cool.
Are you kidding me, man? Melina has one of the fastest moves. I mean, like back down or whatever, coming from the ceiling, and then the little ball. Come on, man. You're too quick.
The little teleport.
That's too quick, man. Not even Sub-Zero can handle that business, bro. But anyway, yeah. I have just a personal fantasy about Melina.
Put your pants back on, man. Calm down.
But right there, I guess, and I wanted to bring it back because they point at like the toy store, and it's a very creepy, very horror movie like introduction to the infected, right?
Let me ask you this: was it the arcade scene that the noise that they were making woke the monster, woke the infected?
Yeah, I think it was. First of all, these girls were making so much noise. Let's put it that way. But yeah, the laughter and in fact, before the arcade was revealed, you could hear the monster noises, and you're like, can't they hear that? But it was the arcade. It was monsters in the arcade, right? Like the video games were making that noise, but they're making all the. They're laughing. You know, when she did the fatality, they're screaming, and that's when we point out to the toy store. And again, very horror movie feel like. And then we reveal that there's this one dude that is awoke with all the noise, right?
I'm surprised they only had one guy. Like I'm surprised because like when you looked at the infected, that wall is saturated with the mushroom veins going everywhere.
Right.
The cordyceps veins going everywhere. So, and you know, from what we learned in episode 1 and 2, those things are connected to a bigger horde somehow. They communicate.
Yeah.
So to see such a, I guess, ample amount of cordyceps everywhere.
Yeah.
Obviously on the infected, but also on the walls and the floor, and to have nobody else show up, pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's the showrunners were kind of talking about that a little bit because the question was asked, right? Like, you know, I think anybody would have loved the scene where like they're running from 1 or 2, 3, or maybe a herd of infected right throughout the mall and hiding. And, you know, I think that would have been so exciting, right? But I think the message, right, is this love story that they didn't want to kind of not ruin,
Diminish.
right? But you know, introduce this other action sequence where what the message what they were trying to convey is just this story about these two. But I agree with you, man. Like I would take a show where 2 girls are running from zombies for an hour or 2 hours long. I don't care. So I'm with you there, man.
Like the way I kind of like had it in my head about how she got bit on that arm and how maybe the show was going to do it, even though I've seen it in the video game. I thought it was going to be a few of these monsters chasing them. Ellie's trying to close a door. He bites her. As he bites her, Riley stabs that one, kills it. But then she doesn't realize there's another one behind it, and then she gets bit on the hand as she's stabbing this one.
Gotcha.
That's how I kind of visualized it was going to happen. So I didn't, because like, okay, when the monster catches up with them in the Halloween store, you don't see any of the bites. You know, I went back a couple of times. Obviously, with the Ellie one, they're under the clothes rack or whatever, the poster rack or whatever it is. So you're like, all right, that's fine. But the Riley one, I never even saw him come close to that aspect where she shows she got bit on the hand, and I was just like, when did that happen?
Yeah, it's one of those that like it's kind of like the Sam one, right? Like they don't let us know,
Right.
because some side geeks out there are gonna be pausing every frame just to catch it before the big reveal. So yeah, I get it, man. It was weird. I think I would have liked a couple more infected, but hey, whatever. The way they did it, I'll take it. Then what I was gonna say is that I thought that Riley and you know how Ellie cries randomly or whatever. I thought that Riley was the one that bit her. You know,
Yes.
Well, I thought that's how the story was gonna go.
Right.
You know, Riley turns, bites her, and then she kills her. Right. But we don't get that ending. But we'll see.
That would be more heartbreaking.
Oh yeah, and we're not off the hook. I mean, they didn't show anything, but we don't know if they're gonna go back and show us something, right?
Right.
And probably not. But
like after you get that tussle with the infected, and we find out that everyone's been. I love seeing Ellie snap.
Yeah.
Like she totally loses her shit and starts. And honestly, that's my reaction. Like I know for a fact. I'm like, you fucking brought me here. I knew this shit was fucked up, and I start smashing shit.
Right.
Like, I wouldn't be surprised if I pop somebody in the face, even though they're my best friend. Be like, why'd you do this to me? You just killed us.
You know what I was thinking? I was thinking a little bit of the opposite. I mean, I like the scene of her smashing shit, but all I'm thinking is you just got attacked by an infected that heard you. Why are you making so much more noise, man? Like, you guys are just bitten. You guys have a few minutes to live. I'm like, you're making more noise, you know, and obviously we know there's only one, right? But I'm thinking, you know, real life, shut the fuck up. And even before anything, like, if Fedra catches you, they'll kill you. If the Fireflies catch you, they'll probably kill you too. And if an infected hears you, they'll probably kill you, right? So, like, why make all this noise? I'm like, maybe the lights, but all this noise, it was driving me a little crazy because I'm like, somebody's going to catch them. And somebody did.
You know how I look at it? And mind you, I'm using more, what's that damn, I'm using more Walking Dead theory here. So give me some leeway on this. I feel like as soon as you're bit, the infected know you're infected. And they don't touch you. Kind of like, remember when in Walking Dead, if you look like them and you put their mask on, they're not coming after you.
Yes.
And you're smearing the blood all over yourself, they're not coming after you. And I'm going to go with the theory that once you're bit and they can sense the infection on you, then they're like, why am I going to waste my time with this? We already got this one. Move on. Let's find another one.
Yeah. And I've seen those inconsistencies, right? Because the way Tess goes, dude is calm, knows she's probably bitten, you know, gives her a little kiss of death or whatever. But then
wants to make out with her,
right? But then next thing you know, we see Kathleen being fucking punched to death by this little one. Like, you know, it's like, and then bloater ripping her head off is like, do you want to rip those more people or do you want to kill humans? But anyway, yeah. So very crazy scene, and just to kind of take a couple steps back. Before this whole thing, right? We find out that Riley, and this is why she doesn't want Ellie to go, right? Because we find out that Riley is being deployed to somewhere far, Atlanta, I think. Atlanta. And she asked Marlene, who you know, Ellie doesn't know who she is at this point, if she can bring Ellie, and Marlene says no. You're going out on your own. Which poses the question here that I wanted to ask. Is there a way that Marlene knows that? Is there a way that Marlene knows Ellie already and that she might be immune?
Yes.
Okay.
No, I think she knows Ellie. I think the reason why she doesn't want her involved is because she probably made a promise to her mom. Because in the video game, Marlene knows Ellie's mom. And so, mind you, they have never talked about it. Even in the brief scenes in episode 1 where they had together, nothing was brought up. Even the whole knife thing wasn't brought up. But there's still, my guess is when episode 8 comes, and I feel like we're going to get flashbacks to Ellie's mom, we might see Marlene, the younger version of Marlene.
Yeah.
There.
Okay.
And they are probably Fireflies together from the get-go when they were young girls for themselves. Because you got to imagine Marlene's going to be about 15 to 20 years younger.
Yeah. So in her 20s. So she said, Riley said she's an older chick in her 40s, right? So we don't know if that's accurate or if she just thinks she's 40. But yeah, so she will be probably in her 20s, early 20s, right?
Right. So let's say early 20s. Her and Ellie's mom are best friends. Young little Fireflies trying to make the world go round and stand up to Fedra. Or we might see them as part of Fedra and then they create the Fireflies. Yeah. You know, we got not sure what we're going to see. So that whole aspect of why Marlene didn't want Ellie or the refusal of bringing Ellie. It could be a promise she made from before.
Gotcha. So that makes sense because you don't think. I mean, how would she know that she? Because my first thought was maybe she knows already about Ellie, and for somehow maybe she knows that she's immune, so she's sending Riley out so that to kind of keep an eye on Ellie because Riley being there and being the oddball right there at any point can, and then we're gonna do it. At any point she can remove Ellie from the picture, and then Marlene doesn't have any control. Right.
Right.
The question is, and I hope they explain, is why hasn't Marlene approached Ellie at this point, and why is Ellie and Fedra, right? Because wouldn't that be even more risky, right? But I guess we'll find out.
Right. And then, we get the whole, and we get the cliffhanger from the mall scene, which I have to almost guarantee we're going to come back to. Whether it be when Joel's hanging on by a dear thread, or if she's got to make some sort of decision, she's gonna flash to watching Riley turn, or flashback to the follow up to that scene.
Right.
Because then the screen goes black and we open up and we're back with Joel and Ellie rummaging through the bathrooms, the kitchen, trying to find anything that can help either stop the bleeding, medication of some sort, alcohol, whatever we've ever found in the game. She's doing that right now. She's trying to find something.
Yeah. And it's crazy, man, because, we've seen, Tess die. We've seen Sam and Henry. We've seen Bill and Frank. And at first it was a little different for them not to show us how Riley turns and dies, right? Whatever that outcome was, like they didn't show us. I mean, they showed us. I mean, the way Henry and Sam, man, it's like so freaking brutal, man, that it gets you in the field. So I'm thinking, like, why didn't they show it, right? But I get, and hopefully they'll show it at some point. But the contrast of them jumping straight into the Joel scene and her going crazy to what you said was great, only for the fact that, man, going back to that teenage feeling of getting your first crush to kiss you, bro, or the girl that you want. And the whole episode, they're kind of like hinting, but nobody wants to take the first step. And it's like, that's a typical teenager, right? Like you don't want to make the first step till it happens. And then you realize not only this person, right? It's not only is one of your kind, right? And she accepted the kiss and she reciprocated, but on top of that, what are the odds of that, right? On top of that, she likes you and fuck, everything is perfect. And then right away, not even fucking 5 seconds later, it's taken away from her, right?
Yeah.
So then we jump back to Joel and she's thinking the same thing, man. Like, fuck this. Nobody's taking this motherfucker away from me, right?
Right.
And that's when she finds the needle and thread and goes up and sew them up. Now, please burn your needles before...
Man,
I mean, do they have tetanus shots in the apocalypse? I don't know.
She didn't even give a shit. She goes, "Look, you're dying. Might as well kill you with a needle now."
Yeah, but that moment, man, where they hold hands and they interlock fingers, that's it. That's it. They're into each other. They're father and daughter figure. This is the moment where they're like, okay, we're good. Because even you could tell, even in his eye, right?
I mean, the ending of this episode pretty much concretes their love for each other and makes them family. And then I guess we'll see. Well, this episode explains why Joel goes as far as he does for her now. So whatever comes forward for Ellie, he'll do everything in his powers to make sure she's okay, no matter what.
Yeah. It's it was.
She's not cargo anymore.
Correct. I think this is where we transition into, and I mean, we kind of had that right in the last episode too, where he's like, I'll take you to the Fireflies, and it's like little by little he's giving in, and then boom.
That scene in the barnyard when he goes, okay, I'll take you. That was the pebble, drop, ripple effect. And then this was the fucking boulder that came off the 20-foot drop into a fucking water and just caused a typhoon. I mean, this pretty much that holding hands scene, just that's it. That sealed their love.
Yeah, it's 100%, 110% together now going forward. And that's the show, you know. Fade to black, and then we don't know what's gonna happen to them. We don't have the conclusion with Riley. You know, they just kind of left it as is. And so you really think they're gonna show us, or do you think they're just kind of gonna leave it to our imagination?
I think they have to. I think in the next episode, you know, I've already seen the trailer for the next episode. We get introduced to another group of people that are not nice people, that they're going to have to deal with. Now, how much of the story takes place straight out of the video game, then we'll just have to see. But there is a faction there's a faction that's coming after them, or that bumps into them.
Yeah.
And let's just say they have a bone to pick with certain people.
Yeah.
And we'll leave it at that.
So do you think there's a part in the game where while Ellie is while Joel is injured and in that basement or whatever, there's a solo, probably like about 1 or 2 hour, right, where these people that we're talking about and Ellie is on her own. So do you think it will be something like that, or do you think Joel will be recovered, or maybe not recovered, but you know?
I think this little arc is the Ellie story. You know, showing how much she's grown, starting from this episode we just saw. Seven and eight are the Ellie story. Joel is going to have a very minor role in this, even in episode 8. I'm hoping not as minor as it was in episode 7.
Right.
But I believe we're gonna see Ellie trying to find things to help Joel. Yeah, she's going to be doing it on her own. You know, I'm hoping they make it resemble what we do in the game when it comes to finding out products like equipment, storage, alcohol, whatever it is. I mean, I hope she finds a whiskey bottle. She go back and fucking disinfect that wound that she just stitched up. Something. I
mean, dude, they teased David in the previews, right? And I'm not gonna give any spoilers or anything from the game, but it's a pretty badass thing. And if, like you said, they can incorporate it with a little flashbacks of the mom and things like that, I think that'll be great. And yeah, hopefully we get a little bit more character development on Ellie, because she's a badass. But I definitely want Joel to kind of be back, because after next week there's one more and that's it, right?
That's it. 9 episodes. Damn. 9 episodes, and then honestly, we're gonna discuss this when we get to the last episode. But I'm very intrigued to see how much of the story is gonna jump in season 2. Meaning, like, are they going to tell us a story that we haven't seen in part 2? Like something in between part 1 and 2? Is that what is that the idea before season 3 becomes part 2? Because I don't see this show lasting more than 4 seasons. I hope it doesn't. That's my thing.
I think maybe 3 seasons, but I think I was thinking about this, and only because we're on episode 7 now, that Ellie's not getting to her destination in this season. I think it's going to be the end of next season, maybe. So with everything that's going on and everything that's still in the game, right, up until the point where Joel gets injured, there's still a lot of game, even for part 1, right? There's still a lot of game. So, you know, maybe they, you know, end season 1 right there, you know, maybe, I don't know, getting to the hospital. I don't know. But then I think season 2 is going to be the Ellie delivery. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, I mean, if they want to keep it there.
Check out what I sent you in WhatsApp. That's the scene where Troy Barker is part of this faction group that we're going to see in episode
there he
8.
is. There he is. All right. I'm gonna have to put it on the screen and post. But yeah, there he is.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
So he's going to be part of the group that they're going to have to deal with in episode 8.
Yes, I think he plays James then, because David and I think it was James that is with David. But
yes.
Fucking James, man, always got some trouble,
worst
man.
people. The worst people.
But anyway, any other Easter eggs, notes that you may have, predictions, theories?
You know, this show is hard to predict for, because you're trying to make predictions that you're not trying to tell people too much of, that you remember from the video game. So I'm going to say this. I hope when episode 8 and 9 drop, 8 dives into, Ellie doing it on her own, kind of setting up a future situation that we're going to see from what we saw in Last of Us Part 2. Also, in episode 8 and episode 9, I hope that the story continues in season 2, meaning it doesn't go straight to fast, because part 1 and part 2, there's a 5-year gap in the game.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm hoping they go into year 3. So take it in half, show us 2 years after the scenes of episode 9, and show us them living their life wherever it might be.
Gotcha.
And tell us that story before going into Last of Us Part 2 storyline.
Have you played part 2?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I have not yet. That's it was on the plans during the pandemic, and then I started playing other things. But yeah, I'm curious.
Okay. So the biggest gripe with the first Last of Us, when I first bought it and played it, I'm like, this game is short as fuck. I'm like, I finished it already. What the fuck is this shit? That's why there was such hype and around, why there was a lot of people unhappy with how short the game was. That's why the DLCs dropped.
Right.
And so they're like, all right, we'll give you these other cutscenes. You can play these. When Last of Us Part 2 came out, it is super long. And
oh, really?
I hope to God, if they do Last of Us Part 2, I hope it's rated R, the show, and it's as graphic as Last of Us Part 2.
Nice. I'm going to have to
because
go play
it's insane how good of a story. Part 2 is better than Part 1.
Yeah, I'm thinking that I'm probably going to finish part 1 this weekend. Or by this weekend. So the goal is to go purchase part 2 this weekend.
Oh, you should. Well. You can get it online for dirt cheap right now, I think.
Oh, really? GameStop, baby. Shout out to GameStop because they made it to the mall too. The mall scene. I don't know if you caught it. And yeah, it looks like an actual GameStop now, because they're all pretty trashy.
Shout outs to Bed Bath and Beyond for making it, or whatever that soap store was. I can't believe Esprit was in it. That was stupid. I didn't see any major stores though. I didn't see a Macy's or a Marshall Fields back then. I don't know. I didn't see anything.
Yeah, that would have been a nice chase scene in like JC Penney's or something. But all right, very good. Another awesome podcast. I love talking about this show, and I'll pause right there to kind of tell the listeners, hey, we're still here. We're still podcasting. We're still going strong. If you made it this far, please go ahead and like, share, subscribe, share it with a friend, man. I mean, we can't be the only two, because I know we're not the only two, and Yon Rigo, that watch The Last of Us. There's plenty more. Please share. I'm uploaded some stuff on YouTube already. I know we've been kind of sticking to the Spotify, but I've been throwing videos on YouTube if you're more of a YouTube person. So please go check us out. Instagram, TikTok, and all that good stuff. JMO, anything else? Or should we end it right there?
I just want to say that we're looking forward to dropping a podcast hopefully soon with Ant-Man and Wasp: Quantumania.
Yes.
I know we're a little behind on it, but it should be dropping soon as well.
Absolutely. Ant-Man.
All right.
All right,
I have a
folks.
lot to say about Ant-Man and Wasp.
I can't wait. I gotta go do my. I should go find a bootleg or something and go watch it again. But JMO, it was a pleasure, and then we'll see you all next week.
Later, brothers.